started drinking water. Okay, let me throw our poll up here. Or no, not a Q&A. Start the poll. Did you like episode 3 of season 2 of The Last of Us? Bing bop boom bing bing bop bam. Okay. There we go. Poll is up. Sorry, my camera's shaking because it's on my computer. Yeah, so just finished episode 3. I always do the, like, behind the scenes thing that they do, where they talk about, like, the making of it. I always check that out, in case you're curious if I do that or not. I do. Did I even say hello? Oh my god. Hello. Hi, it's Erica. Welcome to our episode 3 discussion of season 2 of The Last of Us. If you want, there is a poll I put in the chat to say if you did like it or not. I'll just start right off with not my favorite episode of this entire series. It's probably the weakest one of the entire series so far. We can start off general. Okay, we're gonna get into spoilers. Obviously, spoilers in the title. The pacing, horrendous. Because, like, the way it sort of starts off with the show is it's sort of episode 1 was very kind of slow. And then episode 2, I feel like it really took its time, but that it was like, it still felt like it was kind of like the same pacing as episode 1. This one, the first, like, half hour dragged so much ass that I felt was just, like, unnecessary. And then the second half, or the last, like, 20 minutes or so, just felt so jam-packed with just, like, stuff I don't care about. Like, it's kind of like the questions of just, like, them, like, Dina asking her about the kiss. And then Dina going, I'm not gay. And it's just like, Dina, don't lie to yourself, okay? She's bi, okay? There was that. And then there was also, like, I didn't need, like, I know they took out the scene, because in the video game, Ellie and Dina had that conversation while they're hiding out in the snow. And the two shows with Jesse was, like, this whole thing that got switched around, you know what I mean? But I felt like that conversation wasn't consequential to them at all. You know what I mean? Like, I was fine with them being gone. I was like, oh, they didn't have that little thing or whatever. Because I'm like, you see Dina and Ellie and you see them. Oh, yeah, you know, they're like friends. Like, they're besties. But then she kissed her. So I thought that was enough of saying just like, oh, they're kind of like a couple now. I guess not. Okay, let's run through the episode. Okay, it's just, the first half and the second half are just so crazy. Okay, alright, let's run through the events of the episode. Again, there's a poll to vote if you did enjoy this episode or not. Okay, it's a yes and no. I keep it up with the entire live stream. You can hop in there if you want. We open with the aftermath of Jackson. And we see that Tommy, and it's sort of just like this morgue area, right? And then you see that Tommy sees Joel's body. It's identified by the watch. And then here comes the like, the best part of the entire episode was before the credits, opening credits even happened. It's when Tommy says, "Give Sarah my love." That, I was like, and then I started crying. Tears down my face. I posted it on my Instagram story. I was like, it got me crying in the first 2 minutes. And then from there, it kind of went downhill. But yeah, so that's what we kind of open with, and that hurted me so much to hear that from my Uncle Tommy. My Uncle Tommy. So then we go there, and then is it before or after the title sequence that we see that Ellie's in the hospital? She wakes up screaming because she's still kind of, in the end, Craig Mazin said she's still on the floor of that scene. You know what I mean? And it's just traumatic for anybody. Like, yeah, and then it adds to the drama factor, right? So then we see Jackson rebuilding, and then all of a sudden, it's 3 months later. All of a sudden, just at a crazy time period. of it, because that's what Neil Druckmann said, that in like a video game, he's like, it's so action packed that you just kind of have to go right into it. I felt like The Last of Us was like one of the only video games that actually gave me time to mourn. Like when you play Spider-Man 2, no, Spider-Man, the first Spider-Man, it gave me zero time to mourn. Like zero. Same thing with like Red Dead Redemption 2. Like a zero mourning period. Like I couldn't like emotionally like recover enough because I just had to go straight into the game. I felt like Last of Us 2 gave you like a mourning period of it. And you're constantly mourning him and going through grief like the entirety of the first half of the game. So it's like so unnecessary to be just like that. It needed to be extended. And I feel like it also changes Ellie's motivation, because it definitely makes sense. Like I feel like when you are grieving, that anger is one of the first kind of emotions that you feel. You feel that sadness, you feel that loss, and then the next one more than likely is probably anger. You know what I mean? So the fact that they're like 3 months and whatever, then you have Ellie stuck in the hospital for 3 months, just having to think about it and like plot her revenge like the entire time. It's like that scene with Dina in the garage, where Dina's like, who voted yes in the poll? It's the weakest episode for me. If the last episode was like a 9.7, 9.8, and the first episode would be like a solid 8.9 for me. This episode was like a 6 out of 10. Like it was crazy. Oh my god. But if you enjoyed it, I get it. I guess a 6 out of 10 is passing. But yeah, so because then like it's like if Ellie had 3 months to sort of plan on this, then she would be like kind of, I would interpret that as her being much more calculated than Dina being the one that sort of had the plan. And then Dina being the one to bring the plan to Ellie, being just like, here's what you need. Why don't you have medical supplies? Why don't you have this or that? Because Dina's like, they said, the voice of reason. But she shouldn't be the voice of reason in, taking away, like, Ellie's intellect. Because Ellie's extremely smart. You know what I mean? Like, her survival instincts are crazy. So the fact that they kind of had like change it to where it's like Dina's making all these decisions and it's being the smart one, I'm like, well, you sort of leave Ellie at being kind of dumb. Like she's kind of looking like that and dumb and young and impulsive. And I'm like, it is very much impulsive for her to go to Seattle, driven by her anger and her grief and wanting revenge. But like it shouldn't come, like Dina's being the voice of reason and including her in the show more, because without Dina, the episode would be so short, that I don't think like Dina's intelligence should come at the expense of Ellie's, for sure. Not like my favorite part about it, for sure, because I'm like, I guess it gives Dina like something to do, because Dina was also with Joel, so she also has to bring the information to Ellie, and she didn't tell anyone. Dina just like did not tell anyone that like she knows their names. WLF, Eugene all of a sudden is back, and Eugene's every episode, I guess, now. In the story, he just told Dina that like there was like these groups that were trying to go against Fedra, and Eugene told her that she doesn't know why they didn't all form up together against Fedra, because the thing was just like the Firefly, like in the second game it became a much more regional thing, but the Fireflies were in Boston and they ended up in Salt Lake. You know what I mean? So it's like, I thought Fireflies were just kind of like the main resistance sort of group, or like the biggest one. And then maybe, yeah, like locally there could have been like smaller, like different things. But the Fireflies seemed like it was like a countrywide thing. Versus like now you're sort of getting it as being regional, you know what I mean? Which the second game does introduce, because it has the Ravens, I think, in New Mexico. It has the Rattlers in California. And then it has the Wolves in Seattle. Also the Seraphites as well. Yeah, so I think the 3-month thing just like throws me off so much, because I'm like, and then especially how they treat Ellie as just being like super impulsive and taking all these guns. I'm like, that's not Ellie. That's like Ellie in like the first game. That's not Ellie in the second game. Like she's grown and matured in their handling of Ellie. I'm just like, ugh. Like I was kind of very much excited to see what they're gonna do based off what the first 2 episodes gave us, but now I'm like, I don't know if they know, like, I'm like, did we play the same game? Like, girl, okay. So that 3-month time jump, I'm like, I think they should have explored Ellie much more in that time period, because then if like, based off, like, and I get it, the game Ellie and like the TV show Ellie are two completely different characters, but like they're kind of making them the same. You know what I mean? But then they change so much, and then they keep stuff that I'm like, that was like unnecessary. And again, people may not like the second game because of the story. Who knew that this one was gonna be worse? Hi Drew, I'm good. How are you? So yeah. Okay, so I'm still in the way beginning. I'm jumping around. So we're at the 3 months later mark. I made a note for Jesse's arms. They stood out to me. And then we see that Ellie sees Gale again, and then like that she's sort of playing around, trying to like one up Gale. You know what I mean? But you can kind of tell. You know what I mean? But like I feel like that, rather than like Bella playing Ellie in that situation of just like trying to convince him, like she was very believable in that sense. I'm like, how is, like, it almost doesn't seem like Ellie's like manipulating them. Based off like the show stuff. I don't know if the show again is showing so much of Ellie to where people get a sense of her versus like in the game we know her. You know what I mean? So she tries to talk him out, and now all of a sudden they didn't talk to him on the porch, so they just took out that conversation because Ellie's lying, right? So they're like, oh my god, Ellie's lying. So I think that maybe they did, and Ellie's just trying to get out of it, make it seem like I don't know why though. Why would Ellie lie about that being the last conversation of it? Is it because that's what the audience knows? If you played the game, you know. But if you didn't play, in the show, you don't know that they talk on the porch, and it seems like maybe they cut that out, or maybe they didn't. I have no idea. I dropped my pen. Sorry. But I feel like that's dumb to sort of punk people into being just like, they didn't go to the porch. I don't know why. And sure, yeah, maybe Ellie's a liar, but like, I don't get it. All right. And then Gail's trying to get in there, but it's almost like that Gail, her approach is a lot more based off of, wanting to figure out more about Joel than actually trying to help Ellie in that initial conversation. You know, so that kind of like threw me off. That's what I think I started getting thrown off, was that whole conversation she had with Gail. So yeah, Drew, if you're still there, I'm good. That's good that you're good. Okay. And now we're in springtime. We love that for us. We love springtime. And then we go to Joel's house, and then we see the Ellie's room in there, which was not included in the game. It was just sort of that she moved straight into the garage, but now you see that she was in the house, and then now she's in the garage. So that's like a thing, right? Like that's a thing now. Which I guess it's just like he left it the way that she left it. Maybe to kind of like keep her close or something. I don't know, but she was just in the garage. And then we see Joel's wood carvings. That's where we see the owl, because in the game you see the owl on the mug. And then I think Ellie draws in her journal the owl. But now we just see the wood carvings with it. You see the box. Ellie doesn't take the watch, which I thought was crazy. I thought that was so crazy. I'm like, why wouldn't you grab the watch? Why wouldn't you grab his watch and keep it in your bag? Like, I don't know. And then we see her smell the jacket. She's crying into the jacket. She takes his gun. That's still the same. I would have taken the watch. Take the watch. And then you see Dina waiting. You see Dina lie to Ellie. Whole exposition type of thing, to where I was just like, because the thing is just like, it's like what the game did well was like the reveals of the information, right? In the game, you have the reveal of the Fireflies with Nora, that they were former Fireflies. You get it, the first scene of the show, which I'm just like, okay, just not the reveal then, because the reveal was just like so, it just made sense. You know what I mean? In how they did it in the game with like Nora and stuff, like Ellie finding that out. So I don't know. I like that kind of has me questioning how they're handling that now. And then you have like the whole Dina exposition thing, and I just was not very interested in it. And then, and then, and then Ellie's like, Abby. She whispers Abby, and I'm like, oh my god. What is happening here? What happened to writing, guys? When you change is it the Game of Thrones effect? Like when they started changing everything from the books and it all just started going crazy, like the last 2 seasons? Is that what we're feeling? I think that's what we're feeling, guys. All right. And then Dina was just like, I just thought it'd be smart to just like let them get to Seattle instead of just like tracking them and following them. And he's just like, okay, Dina, since when was that ever your motivation to be like the sort of smart one in the group or the brains of the operation? But I think what the problem is that you have like the video game writing, which is really good. That sounds so crazy to say. But then you have like TV show writing, and then it's just like not the same thing. It's just not the same thing. And then Ellie goes to Tommy, and then Tommy's like, you need to have a council meeting, you have to do this right. To have that little interaction between them. And then we cut to Seattle, which I think was pretty, I kind of like the introduction to the Seraphites. I think they look really good. The costume detail, the everything, the scars on their face, really well done. But then it's like, then you see them kind of run from the wolves. You see a father with a daughter or whatever, and it's sort of just like that they're building the Seraphites to be like this very empathetic group of people, but they're not. Like, that's like, it's sort of losing that complexity in the game of like Abby's whole thing. Like, if they're so empathetic and the wolves are just like the most evil people ever, because we see what the wolves do. They even tease it at the end with the next episode with Isaac and stuff, which I'm excited to get more of Isaac, because like, I mean, Jeffrey Wright killed it in the video game as Isaac, but an expansion on that, oh, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. And then it looks like we're gonna see the Prophet, because she's dead for 10 years in the game. I don't remember how long it's been in the TV show. It's been 10 years. I don't know how long it is in the game. Yeah, so we see, what did I say? I wrote Seraphites, scars, their bald head, and the whistle. Like, that whistle, so traumatizing. Like, I'm replaying part 2 with my friend right now, because she wants me to play with her because she's scared, and if I need to help her, I can help her. So we're sort of, like, playing at the same time. I'm at the arcade, so, like, I'm fresh in, like, the Ellie stuff. I don't know how they're handling the Abby stuff, because it was just like, we saw Manny a little bit, right? Which I'll get to that later. But I said, Prophet mentioned dead 10 years. The Seraphites are leaving, so now they don't have their island. They're sort of retreating, and then you kind of see a bunch of, like, if you're in the game, you know that they don't use, like, this old world technology. They're kind of just, like, this group of people or whatever, and like they're hiding, so it's like, in a way you can see they have weapons to defend themselves, but they have like kids with them and everything. So then, and like the fact that you kind of see what the wolves did to them and how militarized the wolves are, that it's just like, whoa, like they're just painting them to be like such an evil group of people. And like, again, the complexities of the game is that they're not ever like, I wouldn't say that's like their introduction. You know what I mean? It's just like they're this group of survivals, and they're kind of like this militia sort of thing. But it's just like, I never thought of them as being just like super duper evil. There is a part of just like, we're not in Jackson anymore, you know? Like these group of people just like shoot everybody on sight. They do all this, they do all that. But it's like, but they're just like painting them to just like every single one of the wolves to be like such a bad person, you know? So I don't know, dude. Versus kind of like, I want to say like they're empathetic on like when you first play, because when you first play as like Ellie, that's not really what you get. But maybe as Abby, they want to like reveal that. But I think it's going to be so much harder for the viewers of the television show to try and see them as the villains, or like the Seraphites as villains also. Like, it's just, there's just so much in there that they're changing that I'm like, but it's sort of almost taken away the complexities of the video game and the core concepts that the video game had that everyone defends. It's like they're changing those. You know what I mean? So I'm like, okay, if we're just making the Seraphites empathetic off the bat, What about, are just Nolev and Yara? Just Nolev and Yara? How is Abby ever going to redeem herself? That's her only redeeming factor, are those two children that she helps. So then we see Ellie training. We get lots more Jesse. Jesse's on the council. Then we have like this whole council meeting thing that just like, again, the pacing of it dragged so much ass. It was not, I just like did not, I don't care about a council meeting. I can't believe Ellie stayed for the council meeting, and if you want to make her character extremely impulsive, I guess you try and introduce complex motivations and thoughts for her character by having her trying to do like the right thing by going to the council, trying to get a group of people out there, but they ultimately go against her, which you had to know they were going to. Ellie, there's no way you could believe that they were going to actually do that. Like, there was no way. Like, video game Ellie didn't think they were going to do that. So she just like took off on her own because she's trying to seek justice, which I kind of do appreciate that being in like her speech, her notes of just like justice for us because it's the Last of Us. Anyways, and that's like, I guess her motivation is that like it's introducing to the audience her seeing this as being justice instead of revenge. But again, especially in like the making of part at the end of it, they're just like that. You're kind of seeing Ellie do this as a lie, that she is going to do this for revenge, but you're not necessarily introducing that to the audience. And especially if the audience of the television show isn't watching those they're not going to necessarily know that. Because I mean, just Bella just played it so believable that it was just like, I don't know. It wasn't like my favorite thing at all. I put Scott LOL because he's a funny guy. Then you sort of introduce these different opinions because now it's become so much more of a complex situation because not only is Joel gone, not only was he like murdered, but you have half the town recovering. You have the entire town recovering. You've had people be mourning for 3 months, their own loved ones, and Joel too as well. So like how it's extremely selfish for anyone to ask the town that after what had happened to them, we have to go after these people. Everybody lost somebody in this instant. You know what I mean? Like the town is just like trying to recover still. So I guess it makes it much more cut and dry that Ellie's motivations are extremely selfish. Yeah. Sorry, my friend. Who's playing The Last of Us right now. She told me she just got to the aquarium. Sorry. So she just told me that. I'm answering her. Because we play at the same time. Okay. So yeah, so I guess it sort of is introducing, the complexity of, like, and just drowning home, how kind of, like, selfish Ellie is being for taking off and, wanting to go, and wanting to go, for, that she's being like selfish in that way, and it's just like it's just driving that factor home, and just like the fact that they introduced the town element just makes her seem that much more selfish, which it's just like a lot part of like the game is the part 2 is to try and showcase that like maybe Joel and Ellie aren't the good guys, you know what I mean? Like there's like they're the bad guys to somebody else, you know what I mean? To the wolves for sure, to the Fireflies they were the bad guys. So it's just like, it's much more, I feel like kind of trying to maybe nail that message home. But I don't know if it's being done in the most thoughtful, complex sort of way. Like you can introduce these very complex ideas that are in both games to a television audience, but you can still do it very well. Also, I thought it was very interesting because there was definitely something I noted in my most recent, my Last of Us Part 2 remastered playthrough, is that I was like, the fact that they changed Dina from Jewish to, I'm assuming, Isabel Merced, Latina of some sort. I do like how they included in the town meeting forgive and be forgiven and this sort of Christian ideology in there, because I think that's maybe where that conversation that Ellie and Dina have in the synagogue, that's sort of the replacement of that by sort of introducing religion into it in that way. It's not necessarily in the exact way of the game, because I feel like it's much more Ellie asking Dina about like how she's dealing with the grief and like that sort of aspect that religion can bring, versus just like taking this one factor of religion, forgiveness, and sort of like introducing that. I feel like that's their way of doing it. And it's completely not in the same way at all, but it's something that I thought was pretty decent. And I also wrote, who is the guy between Jesse and Tommy? Because he was very distracting. If it was me personally, and I can speak to this because I work in film and television, and part of my job is setting a background. And I'm sure they were like selected background to be on the city council. I don't know if they were cast as actual cast or if they were background. I would not have put put him in between Jesse and Tommy. He was way too distracting. Because he's very good looking. That's why. I would have stuck him probably up there with Gale if you want to use him and kind of put him in like a much more featured spot. Because he just is very attractive compared to everybody. My eyes were just watching him a lot of the time. But I would have definitely probably done that. That's something I would have changed. Because I have definitely done it to where I've picked the background to be certain around cast or like around to be in like a more featured position. I've done that, so I know definitely the type of character I would pick. I probably wouldn't have picked him per se to be as featured because he's so distracting, because it's a thing. But anyways, back to where we go. Again, Ellie speaks for justice. Jackson ultimately votes no unanimously. Makes sense. Like if you think about the perspective of the town and just like the regular town folk, everybody probably loved Joel, but like it's just so it's a little bit complex, you know what I mean? It's introducing like this whole new complexity that I don't know is necessary, because I feel like the game's already pretty complex in what it's doing anyways. But yeah, then we see the baseball game. We get Gale talking with Tommy. We love Gale. It really just seems like they wrote Gale specifically for Catherine O'Hara, specifically so she can play how she plays. It just reminded me. It's just like she's so good though. I can't hate her. Though. Like, she's so good. I can't be mad at her. Versus, like, that kind of whole thing with, like, Melanie Lazinski in, like, season 1. I was just like, yeah, for sure, didn't need that for here. I'm like, I love Gale. Like, she's great, guys. But, like, definitely, it's just, like, that she just, like, written kind of fun, and her acting's kind of fun, so it brings, like, a different type of energy, different type of tone to it. Like, is she taking all the Manny fun stuff? Because Manny just doesn't seem like he's a fun guy in the show. Like, I don't know if I want to have a beer with that guy. You know what I mean? I do, because it's Danny Ramirez, but, like, again. And then we see that, like, Ellie's a liar. Gale knows she's lying. Uncle Tommy knows that she's lying. I dropped my pen again. And we can kind of clearly see that. And so I guess, I don't know if you needed, I don't think it's necessary to have two separate characters have this whole scene to say Ellie's a liar. Because the video game Us kind of, like, it was just, Bella played it so believable, I got tripped up. I'm like, what are they doing? But, like, I don't think you needed two characters to have an entire scene to say that Ellie's a liar. Like, you should be able to have the actions that are being written to translate that in the visual form that it's meant to be translated, then have just exposition scenes. Like, the writing, I'm just like, Tommy doesn't want Ellie to turn into Joel. That's where we kind of see you have this discussion of nature and nurture. The way Gale's playing it is very much that it's this much nurture, and she's had that in her the entire time. You know what I mean? So I thought that was definitely, like, it was an interesting conversation. I don't feel like it was ever necessary, though. Like, am I happy it was in it? I could care less. It could have been cut, and I don't know if it would have changed anything. But yeah, but it's almost just like, it's like a filler episode, and then half of it's not a filler episode, and then it's just like, it's just so crazy. Like, just give me the option to develop it and write it myself, because I feel like I could do better. Oh my god. And then we see, and then she said some people can't be saved. Sort of, it's introducing a lot of the idea. Here's the other thing, is that, like, they introduce a lot of the ideas. It's foreshadowing very early on in this series that I'm like, you come to understand much later and get a grasp of later based off the previous actions. You don't have to tell me. You don't have to foreshadow it to anything. I'm getting it. You know what I mean? But it's just so blatantly in your face. It's just exhausting to me. And then we see Dina helps Ellie. And then I also wrote Dina's super smart, not Ellie, question mark. Because again, I think, sure, I'm all for Dina being smart. I'm all for her character being dope. I think Isabella Merced's doing a great job. But I don't think her smartness should come at the expense of Ellie. It's like in the game, I wouldn't say, like in the game, I think that's where there's a misunderstanding. In the game, Dina seems like the brains of the operation because she's sort of the character guiding you through, very early on in the beginning, guiding you through how to play the game. You know what I mean? Oh, there's alcohol and rag, make a Molotov. Here's a Molotov. You know what I mean? Versus, like, it's just, like, that's not necessarily who her character is. She's not necessarily smarter than Ellie. She's going with Ellie because she loves her. And yeah, she wants revenge after Joel too as well. But like the way that they're sort of playing it here, it's like that's not necessarily, like, yeah, sure, that's what she's saying because she says, like, I love Joel too. Whatchamacallit? I don't know if I hope they're not messing up her character, because her character is very specific, you know what I mean? And I hope by making her seem super smart and having her be like the brains of it, it's not at the expense of more of what Dina serves in the story for Ellie. You know what I mean? Which I think, which is crazy because it's like at the end of the making of, it's like they say that they kind of like maybe understand her a little bit, the voice of reason. But it's in the game, it's like it's kind of more complex than that, you know, than just being plain and simply the voice of reason a little bit. But yeah, and then we see Seth. He trades Ellie for the rifle, and I guess it's sort of what Seth's character is doing, is really bringing home this concept of redemption very early on in the show, because you see him speak up at the city council, and then you see him trade Ellie, gives him, like, the blessing to go off, get revenge for Joel, you know what I mean? So it's, like, it's very interesting that he's just the character that does that, you know what I mean? He's more than a bigot, guys. He is. And, like, the sort of, like, purpose his character is serving here, again, it's supposed to be kind of what is an overall concept for the game, versus just kind of have like this little sort of sprinkle of like a side character there, you know what I mean? So I definitely get it. I definitely understand why they would want to write Seth in this way, but like I think it's too early. I think it's just and then we see that Ellie's still like impulsive or whatever, but again, after 3 months she's impulsive. Seems crazy to me. And then, but then they told Dina not to tell her, but then Dina had to send all this information. I wouldn't have been. If it's my girlies, I'm telling you everything. And then we see the Last of Us music, on their way to Seattle. And I forgot where that one's played. I don't remember, but I remember being in the game. I don't remember if it's after Joel's death when you're at the grave in the game or like when, but I just remember it being there. And then we see Ellie at Joel's grave. She puts coffee beans at his grave. I thought it was, like, I know why she smiled at it, because maybe she's thinking, like, the happy memories. But I'm like, well, and it's 3 months later, right? So maybe she is ready to smile, thinking about Joel. But in the game, she's not, because it is more, the time period is tripping me up. And, yeah, because I'm like, it's just if Ellie's still in this period of grieving and mourning, and her anger based off her grief is what's driving her to do these things, and she's happy, and it's supposed to be in the flashbacks. Oh my god. Or like the purpose is served. Like, it's almost just like, I feel like people are gonna be just like, the game did it so much better. And I'm not just like doing tricks on it for the game, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not, but I'm just like, okay, like, you can hate it, the story of it, you know what I mean? But you can definitely see the reveals of the story beats here, and here makes sense. The mystery of not knowing that they were fireflies makes sense here. Not having Abby's exposition does all this for, like, the narrative, you know what I mean? Versus just like, look, here it is, and you're just like, but the kind of reveal of that was, like, super important in the game and super sick, and now it's just, like, in a big old exposition thing, and I'm just like, oh, where's my video game? You know what I mean? So maybe I am biased towards the game. That seems to be the case now. This is why I was kind of worried with how they were going to handle the second season and the material in it, because of what they're doing here. It's so crazy, because, like, people were talking about episode 2 as being, like, very Games of Thrones-y. Who knew they were going to do it with the rest of the season? Okay, then we get traveling girls. They talk about the first person you killed. I feel like that's kind of important. Conversation. I don't think the kiss was necessary, and also for Dina to say that she's not gay. I don't. What do you mean? Like, what do you mean? What do you mean? She's just curious? What does that mean? She's bi-curious? I don't know. Whatever. Dina's back with Jesse. We see that. There was like a 3-month period. Nothing was happening, I guess, between Dina and Ellie. But something was happening between them because she would visit her all the time. But then Dina and Jesse got back together. They talk about Jesse in like a very girl summer party type of way, which we love to see. Then we see Ellie and Dina see the Seraphites dead. And then it becomes like, again, the wolves were just like this overarching, very, very evil group of people just murdering Seraphites. Which, yeah, in the game they do that, but it's much more complicated in the game. Okay. Then we see Dina throws up. Oopsie. What's that? And then why did I write dead Seraphites? Oh, because of the big pile of dead Seraphites. So now it's very interesting because now you just have Ellie's motivation as being going to kill Abby, which was always her motivation in the beginning, but it sort of shifts in the beginning of the game when you see that Uncle Tommy went after Abby and the wolves first, because now it's like that Ellie and Dina also have to get Uncle Tommy. Like, that's sort of just like the lie that Ellie's telling herself instead of lying to everybody else, is that like, yes, we're gonna go get Tommy, which I think she wanted to get him, but not more than she wanted to kill Abby. So now that you're not going after Uncle Tommy, dude, everybody's gonna be mad now, because a lot of what I've seen on social media is about Tommy's crash out and how valid it is. Where's my Uncle Tommy crash out? Where's my Uncle Tommy crash out? Like, this is just, like, I love seeing him more. I think Gabriel Lute is doing a great job with him in the show. But where's my Uncle Tommy crash out? Where's it going to be? I wonder if they're going to make Tommy and Jesse go after them in Seattle. They better not kill Uncle Tommy. I will never watch the show again if they do that. And then, so then like now the motivations are not as complex because then now it's just for justice and revenge, versus the helping Uncle Tommy. Like, that's such like a driving force in the game. Now I'm just like, is Tommy even going to Seattle? Because then it's just like, which makes sense why they would have less wolves numbers if it's just Ellie going after the wolves. But then I'm like, what about Uncle Tommy wreaking havoc on the wolves? Like, just being that guy. You know what I mean? Like, did you just not going to give me that? It's fine, I'm playing the game, I could get it that way. But it's just, that's his brother still. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, that's his brother. That's his big brother. And you're not going to let that man crush out? I don't believe you. That's what also makes the 3-month thing seem so crazy, that, like, Tommy's okay with it, you know? And I'm just like, no, that he's not. And then you get Manny on watch, and again, I don't know, Manny's just, like, not funny here. Like, again, it's just, like, the Manny in the game, I'm just like, you'd probably drink a beer with that guy. You know what I mean? Would I drink a beer with this Manny? Yes, again, because he's Danny Ramirez, that's it. Because there's, like, where's Manny's personality? I need it. I need them to show that, because I need it to get complicated with the wolves. I need my complex emotions, my feelings. And if you're just not going to give that to me, why am I watching at all? Then you see that the wolves' arsenal, how militarized they are. Like, they got a tank, bro. Which is crazy. And then it's just like, oh, there's not that many wolves. And then you see that versus, like, seeing the stadium in the game where you're like, oh, no, this is the whole thing. So that's interesting. I guess we won't get the stadium then. Who was wearing that wolf helmet? Because it low-key, I was like, Troy Baker? And then I don't know if it was him or not. It might have just been just some rando dude wearing the wolf helmet, but I'm just like, did they really put him in the second season again? I don't know if that was him or not. Yeah, and then my final notes are pacing fast at the end, slow in the beginning, which just totally threw me off because they just packed too much there at the end. Like, that felt like that should have been a separate episode. Like, you could have just had the first episode be this entire exposition of everybody's complicated emotions and feelings of the death of Joel, and have that be the entire episode and not half of it, and have it drag so much ass in the beginning and then just rush the last half. like it's nothing. Like, we gotta get to Seattle, guys. How do we get there? Have these conversations with Dina and Ellie that, like, people, I don't know, don't care about, or do they care about? Me personally, I didn't need them as much. But yeah, and that, like, I wrote Neil Druckmann wanted longer mourning period for Joel. Again, video games, if I feel like The Last of Us Part 2 gave us mourning in periods, versus, again, playing games like Spider-Man 1 and, like, Red Dead Redemption 2, like, sometimes you just don't get like, it just happens. I'm sad, and then I'm like, why do I have to play again? Just let me live in my grief and let me mourn. And you know what I mean? And I also wrote that Dina was the voice of reason, which, yeah, I guess she technically serves that purpose in the game, but it's much more complex in how she's doing it, you know? And the sort of intel she's getting. Maybe I think they made Dina be the smart one about, like, laying out the plan for everybody, because she does get the intel in the game based off just, like, the radio. But that's just, like, I don't know if that translates to her being almost seen as being smarter than Ellie. So yeah, this episode, it's my least favorite of the entire series. Last episode, obviously, just like the best. The feelings of worry that I had before the show started went away with the first 2 episodes. Now I'm worried. They're changing a lot. They're sort of like are keeping to very much core concepts of the game, but I don't know if they're being executed in the way that I would like them to be executed. In the way, like, I feel like the game probably executed the concepts a lot better than in the TV show, and it is based all on the writing here. And again, I'm not doing tricks on The Last of Us Part 2 just because I'm more biased towards it. Because you could still ask me, is it your favorite video game? No. Why? Because the story. You know what I mean? But, like, it seems like a lot of what people had problems with the second game, not even including Joel's death, are sort of finding their way back around here. You know what I mean? And the fact of just, like, you can't force me to care about Abby by making me play as her. You know what I mean? And having her have, like, the coolest sections in the game, and having her have just, like, this very much redemption thing because you care about Lev and Yara so much but you care about them. You don't necessarily care about Abby. You know what I mean? So it's just complex overall. It's complicated overall, but I don't know if the TV show is taking those complex ideas and executing them in a way that is effective. I feel like, because in the game, when you're playing it, it does work to an extent, you know what I mean? But it's just told so much better. The execution of the concepts, of the ideas of, like, 2 sides of the same coin, this whole redemption thing, is revenge justice, like, all the other very much complicated ideas and emotions are just, like, kind of being thrown around and jumbled about, you know what I mean? And it's just like, you know what I mean? And it's just like the thing of just like, if you don't make Manny an extremely likable character, then you don't feel the way that you feel when you see what Tommy does to him. You know what I mean? Because he's the most likable Wolf character. You know what I mean? So if you don't make him that in the show, then I'm not going to feel anything for them in the television show. You know what I mean? If I'm supposed to feel empathy for the Salt Lake crew, I don't. Right now, I don't in the television show. You know what I mean? So then it's just like versus, and again, it's when you start to play Abby's side, you get a little bit more of that, but like, it's still like, yeah, I mean, when you do get Abby's side, you do get that, but then it's just like the way that they're introducing them in these little snippet moments where it's like maybe you're supposed to see a little bit of that, you're just not getting it at all. So that's my thing. I'm not, again, it's like a 6 out of 10. That whole first opening scene with Tommy and Joel, best part of the whole episode. We're in Seattle now, all of a sudden. Like, it just drug out, like, 3 months, and then, days, we're in Seattle. When it took, like, 3 months for them to get to Seattle on horse. I don't know how long it takes to travel on a horse from Jackson, Wyoming to Seattle, but I'm assuming it would take, I thought it took them months in the game. Because you went from winter to spring, so I thought that was obvious. But, okay. Okay, whatever. You know what it kind of felt like? It kind of felt like The Walking Dead a little bit. And, like, I don't know if that's a good compliment or a bad one. But, like, not, and I don't mean, like, very recent Walking Dead. I mean kind of the first, I don't know, 6 seasons of Walking Dead. You know what I mean? Where it's just like a lot of people were still kind of like watching it. I know a lot of people fell off after the first season or the second season of The Walking Dead, but like it just sort of feels like it just like I don't know why it was like when they got to Seattle that I was just like this feels like The Walking Dead. And again, I don't think that's a compliment. But it's also not a knock on The Walking Dead either. It's not, because I quite like it. But I wonder if they're using The Walking Dead as inspiration and motivation and ideas for this show, and they should not, because they are great pieces of work separately. And again, I feel like Walking Dead does introduce a lot of complex ideas as well, but they should just be separated, okay? Unless it's Clementine. Okay, anyways, I think that's going to do for this part. It was definitely a lot more ranting, and I'm pretty sure you could tell by the tone of this video than in my episode 2 breakdown and analysis. It seemed like 2 people voted, we love that, I got 2 votes this time, that they liked this episode. Again, for me, if I had to answer yes or no, I'd probably be like, no. What do you mean, no? What do you mean? No, like, it's like a 6 out of 10 for me. It's passing, but barely. You know what I mean? And I feel like the actors are doing the best that they can with the source material that they have. But then again, I don't need everything just blatantly said, thrown at my face. Like, let the audience, your audience is smart, you know what I mean? And they can understand a lot of complex ideas. You just have to give them the chance to do it. Like, I watched Sinners this weekend twice in IMAX. And it's just like that movie never told me how to feel. Never told me anything. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't tell me how to feel. I felt like there wasn't unnecessary exposition. I didn't feel like there was, like, all this other stuff. Like, I just, like, felt it based off just the great quality filmmaking that was there, based off the writing, based off the visuals, based off the editing. And that's where we need people to understand, is that, like, first, you got to start off with the writing. You don't shit without a script. You know what I mean? And especially if you're based off something, there's a very much clear-cut understanding of what everything is happening, though. But yeah, I don't now. What am I excited for? I'm excited to see a little bit more Jeffrey Wright. Maybe we get a little bit more backstory with the wolves and the Seraphites. That could be interesting. But if you're using the Seraphites to be just empathetic, then please don't. Please don't. That's not the point of the Seraphites. Are not just to be used as a tool for empathy. Because they're not, they still do bad stuff, the Seraphites too. They're both murdering each other in cold blood, you know what I mean? But I'm a little bit excited. I'm excited to see Jeffrey Wright, I will say that, and that expansion on the wolves. But I don't just hope they don't paint them as just like being the most evilest evil of everything, you know what I mean? Because again, it's more complicated than them just being bad people, you know what I mean? And that's the whole point of the second game. But yeah, so that's what they tease. That's exciting. We also tease the subway scene. I thought they were wearing masks in the trailer. They're not. So that'll be interesting. And at the end of it, we saw Dina pull a gun on her. So that was crazy. I was like, what the heck? My game, Dina, would never. Like, what do you do? What? I don't know. So if they, and it seems what a lot of the TV show does is explains a lot more of what we never got to explore in the video game, which is so crazy, because the video game's longer than a TV show can be, and you can get deeper into those complexities and those ideas, you know, so if they do expand more on the wolves and the Seraphites, would love that. That'd be kind of cool to see, you know, but also they showed, like, this wolves in, like, Fedra armor, so I'm like, you mean they were, like, posing as Fedra agents? Like, when they tried to hit the Fedra trucks in the downtown Seattle portion of the second game. So, yeah, that'll be interesting. I'm excited to see that just because I want more Jeffrey Wright as Isaac, honestly, and I'm ready for that. But we'll definitely see how they handle it. And I will say, I think when they sort of do expand more on stuff, it has worked for them because it's almost just like the TV show's filling in what the game couldn't. But then they take away and they change so much of with the game. I'm like, just give me what the game gave me, but just I don't want it to be an exact same carbon copy. They'll get that idea wrong. That's what I want to see in the TV show. Because I'm very open-minded to the changes. I'm very happy with them. Not currently, but after the first and second episode I was. But now I'm back to my worry phase. So yeah, we'll see. There's 4 episodes left. There's not a lot to explore, especially with the slower, fast-paced. I don't know what they're doing. But we'll figure it out together. That's what we're here for. So yeah, next week, same time, we're gonna talk about it. I do have to go to work tomorrow, which means I should probably start getting ready for that. I don't have to be there till 9, but I still have to drive an hour and a half, which I gotta leave by like 7. Gotta go to bed by like 11. A good time. Ooh, yeah, no, I gotta go to bed. But if you did enjoy the stream, thank you so much for joining. If you're watching this after, in like a VOD type situation, thanks so much for watching. I'm curious to know everybody's ideas about it, because I feel like there's gonna be a lot of thoughts and opinions. I don't know if you're gonna necessarily match mine exactly, but I'm curious to know your thoughts about it. Extremely much so. But again, I'm just not big writing for the game. I'm not, but I'm just saying it executed the concepts a lot better than the TV show is currently executing the concepts and ideas that are the major takeaways from the game and the whole point of the game, which has me worried. But yeah, so I will catch you guys next time. Love you. Hopefully see you in a gameplay playthrough or next live stream. Bye.